Ford recommends doing a fluid exchange on the automatic transmission at 150,000 miles. This one has just under 100,000 and I think it's more than ready to be done. I'm going to replace the filter first by removing the fill cap and the indicator stick from the passenger front side of the automatic transmission, and then I'm going to take out these 21 8mm head bolts, and by removing the fill cap it'll prevent a suction action from taking place when you drop the pan. And then I'm going to loosen up these last few, let it drain out some before removing the rest. And then when I drop this pan, you want to make sure that the filter, when it comes out, has the O-ring on it and it didn't get stuck up in the valve body. Just something to check before you go in with a new one. And then going to clean up the pan in the parts washing tank here. You could use soap and water or brake clean, and then clean up the magnets as well. There's two of them. Ford uses a 6R80 transmission. It's a 6-speed transmission. They've been using it from 07 to 2016. After I cleaned up the pan of the oil and grime, I used some brake clean to get rid of the rest of the solvent and oil. Cleaned up the magnets, and then one goes on a dimple and the other one goes over on the side. The pan gasket is reusable, but it does have a rubber component, so that has the potential to deteriorate. So I went ahead and put in a new pan gasket, and pulling out the Motorcraft Ford replacement filter, double check the hole for no gaskets or O-rings from the old filter, using a little bit of the residual ATF to lubricate the new O-ring, and then plugging it up into place. It does kind of hang a little bit loose, that's normal. And then I went ahead and cleaned up the threads on the 21 bolts, and then hit them with a little bit of Permatex medium strength Threadlocker. That's pretty common practice on most automatic transmission. This transmission doesn't call for it, but at 89 inch-pounds it's not super tight, so I don't want mine getting loose or causing a leak for me. Then I'm threading two of them through the pan and the gasket that will hopefully have easy access for me when I slide the pan up into place, and then I'll screw those two in before getting the other ones in place. I'm going to put all 21 of these bolts in hand tight to ensure I don't pull out any threads. You got steel bolts going into an aluminum body, and you don't want to strip any of these buggers out. So I got a 1/4 inch hand driver and a 1/4 inch speed handle, which makes pretty quick work of putting in bolts manually. Again, the torque spec's 80 inch-pound, and you want to tighten those in a crisscross pattern, and then do a final check all the way around to make sure you didn't miss any when you torqued them up. And then I'm going to clean it up with a little bit of brake clean, dissolve that oil, and then brake clean evaporates nice and fast, which is nice. Got an OTC 5-gallon bucket pump for this job that I know I'll use on a lot of other purposes, for other jobs too, for gear changes and differentials and whatnot. And I've been really happy with it. Works way better than those plastic bottle pumps that seem to break every time and cause a huge mess. To start out, you want to put 4.5 quarts of Mercon LV or equivalent ATF into the pan. I filled this up substantially to about 4+ gallons because I'm going to do a flush after this. So if you're going to do a flush, you just need to add the 4.5 quarts, and then you'll be good to continue with the flush procedure, which I have another video on me doing the flush on that. If you're going to start it up and run it after this, then you'll want to get it so it's indicating on the stick, put those 4.5 quarts in there, get it where it's shown on the stick, and then start it up and run it, and then check it with the vehicle running. So I show both ways here. So this is good. If you're going to start with the flush, you would just go into the flush procedure after getting the fluid up here, and then I stole some footage post flush of showing how you would check the fluid here if you're not going to do a flush right away. So cycle through the gears about 5 seconds in each circuit. I have this video at about 4 times normal speed. You got your foot on the brake and you're just filling up those circuits that may have drained out. and then checking it with the vehicle running. And then putting the cap back on, cleaning up the mess, torque it to 26 foot-pounds or snug and not leaking but not too tight. If you do just this drain and fill, you're going to get only about 4 or 5 quarts of the 13 that the system holds, so it is, Ford again does recommend you do a complete fluid flush on this to restore the entire system of its protective properties. Hope you found that helpful, and you'll like and subscribe.